Welcome back to WrestleSpective, your place for all the lost, obscure, and defunct of pro wrestling. A wrestling-themed casino off the Las Vegas Strip, a Times Square nightclub built to rival Planet Hollywood, and a 220-foot drop tower in Canada. At the height of the Attitude Era, Vince McMahon wasn't satisfied with simply dominating the wrestling business. He wanted to expand even more. He wanted that scratch logo everywhere. For a brief moment, Vince attempted to transform his brand of professional wrestling into a full-scale entertainment empire. One that could conquer casinos, restaurants, theme rides, and tourist hotspots across North America. These ventures looked like billion-dollar ideas. Now they're forgotten relics of WWE's most ambitious era. This is the story of the World Wrestling Federation's three biggest hospitality gambles: WWF Hotel and Casino, WWF New York, and WWE Niagara Falls.
Lady Luck, they call her Lady Luck, blowing them down. When she kisses me, I'm in heaven.
Snake eyes! Snake eyes? Snake eyes?
Oh no! No!
Before WWE tried to dominate streaming with billion-dollar media rights deals, Vince McMahon once seriously considered taking over Las Vegas. And not just with events like WrestleMania. In August of 1998, as the Federation was reaching its peak of the Attitude Era, it shocked both the wrestling and entertainment worlds when they purchased the bankrupt Debbie Reynolds Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas for $10 million at auction. The property was originally envisioned as a tribute to old Hollywood, but could potentially have become a shrine to Stone Cold Steve Austin and D'Lo Brown. The resort sat on 6 acres just off the Las Vegas Strip and featured nearly 200 hotel rooms, a casino floor, and a 500-seat showroom. For Debbie Reynolds, this was a heartbreaking deal. Her dream of preserving classic Hollywood had become a nightmare under crushing debt, and the auction sale failed to even make enough to pay all the creditors. But for Vince McMahon, it was an opportunity too outrageous to ignore. WWF executives promised to revitalize that part of Las Vegas, saying in a press release, "It's a new venture in which to entertain our fans. We are anxious to get the plans developed for renovations of the property and to inject some WWF attitude into Las Vegas."
The WWF are planning an entire wrestling resort at the former Debbie Reynolds Hotel. Now, Dave Thompson is interested in professional wrestling, but he's not a fan. He's a business owner across the street.
I was pleased because, I think the WWF does have a strong following and hardcore fans, and I think it will bring a little activity and action down this street. So I was happy when I heard they bought it.
And speculation was rampant on what the Federation actually meant. Would blackjack dealers deliver clotheslines? Would bellhops put guests in headlocks? Would every hotel room be themed after a wrestler? As absurd as it sounded, some of it wasn't too far off. According to Bruce Pritchard, some pitches included Stone Cold branded poker chips, an Undertaker tattoo parlor, a Sable lingerie boutique, daily wrestling shows, retired wrestlers as hotel greeters, and superstar-themed rooms. It was the exact kind of all-out branding you expect from the Attitude Era. This is the same company that put out Stone Cold Steve Austin water bottles. And in theory, it made sense. Las Vegas has always been over the top with themes and spectacle. If New York, New York and Excalibur can thrive, why not a WWF resort and casino? I know this wouldn't have stuck in the final building, but I love that the concept art has my favorite version of the logo, the scratch over the block logo. It's the best. But there was one massive problem. To transform the aging property into something worthy of the WWF brand would require roughly $100 million in renovations. Linda McMahon reportedly took a look at the numbers and pumped the brakes. The location being off the Strip wasn't ideal. The scale of the thing wasn't profitable. Ultimately, it was all too expensive. So, after all the hype, WWF quietly abandoned the project. 2 years later, the company sold the property for $11 million, making a modest $1 million profit. WWF spokesperson Jude Everhart summed it all up in a statement not long after the Federation sold the property. After we bought it, we realized it just wouldn't meet our expectations of being able to provide our brand of entertainment on the right scale. So we decided to sell it. We have no immediate plans to purchase other property in Las Vegas, but I couldn't rule it out. The casino was eventually demolished. But Vegas was only the beginning, because if Vince couldn't bring a wrestling establishment to Sin City, he'd bring it straight to the Big Apple and Times Square.
Wrestling fans went wild for their favorite and not so favorite WWF superstars at the opening of a new restaurant bar in New York's Times Square.
We're right in the middle of it all, and that's really where we belong.
In 1999, WWF planted its flag in the heart of Manhattan, Times Square. The company leased the historic Paramount Theater and launched what was supposed to be the ultimate wrestling entertainment destination, WWF New York. Opening in January 2000, the massive venue combined a merchandise store, the restaurant, a nightclub, an arcade, and a live event space. It was supposed to be WWE's answer to Hard Rock Cafe or Planet Hollywood or ESPN Zone. All of those had varying degrees of success, and the WWF was arguably at its peak. So this venture would have been a slam dunk. Early on, there were rumors of the restaurant hosting concerts, comedy shows, and even a wrestler-hosted talk show. WWF New York was publicized as a wrestling fan's paradise in one of the busiest tourist districts on Earth, and it did show early promise. Entrance themes were blasted through the building, memorabilia lined the walls, pay-per-views Raw and SmackDown aired on giant screens, and superstars made appearances. And fans packed for those appearances and pay-per-views. And any superstars who weren't booked were usually found hosting the watch parties. On paper, it looked like another McMahon home run. But in reality, WWF New York suffered from the same flaw that doomed so many McMahon side ventures. Incredible concept with mediocre execution. The venue was surprisingly tame. Instead of fully embracing the Attitude Era's outrageous identity, it often felt like a generic sports bar with some WWF branding slapped on top of it. The food was considered uninspired and the atmosphere lacked immersion. Editors from the New York Times criticized the food, calling it better than the Times cafeteria. High praise, I'm sure. Themed menu items were minimal. Look at this menu. Filet mignon? Why not filet mignon? Where's the stone cold gazpacho soup? Come on, guys. I would say maybe the worst part was that the service kinda sucked. Another editor from the Times complained about the service, saying, "We were ready to pile drive a waiter, if we could find one." And these were critiques I've also seen from independent bloggers that visited the spot at the time. Beyond pay-per-view watch parties, there wasn't enough unique programming to justify its enormous potential. No in-house wrestling, no over-the-top attractions, no truly unforgettable experiences. And with bad food and bad service, you kinda need a little extra. They did, however, host the Tough Enough finale. The merch store did sell XFL merchandise, though. My mom swung by and got me an XFL football back in 2001, so that was cool. Still have it. But in the hyper-competitive environment of Times Square, having something truly unique mattered. And you can't really put the full blame on Vince McMahon and the WWF. Vince had brought on Parkview Restaurant Group and their CEO, Bob Grease, to manage WWF New York. The restaurant was Parkview's first time managing an establishment like WWF New York. Parkview and WWF also had conflicting ideas of what the restaurant should even be. A WWF source in April 2000 told the New York Daily News that Parkview has always looked at this as a theme restaurant. We look at it as an entertainment complex. There is a philosophical difference. In March 2002, Parkview sued the WWF over a $100,000 payment related to the termination of their agreement. I honestly can't sort it all out, but in October 2003, the WWF successfully had the case dismissed. Not long after this lawsuit, the WWF faced a bigger problem than the bad service and bland food. In May 2002, the WWF lost its legal battle with the World Wildlife Fund and was forced to rebrand as WWE. Rather than simply renaming the venue WWE New York, they chose the bizarrely generic new title, The World. A name so generic, it sounds like a food court or a nightclub on Law & Order SVU. By 2003, Linda McMahon shut down the restaurant and nightclub, citing WWE's need to focus on global operations. The retail store followed shortly after. And just like that, Vince's Times Square empire was already over. While WWF New York and the World never became a major venue for concerts, comedy shows, or talk shows, it did, however, have its moments. In 2000, Magic Johnson hosted a party for his 3-on-3 Wall Street Classic basketball tournament. And maybe the coolest of all, in April 2002, Prince performed a spontaneous after-party following a concert earlier that night, with tons of A-list guests. Even though WWF New York didn't work out, it was still a fixture of WWF TV at the time. So I'm sure a lot of us have some fond memories about the restaurant, even if we never visited in person. Today the location is, ironically enough, occupied by the Hard Rock Cafe. The restaurant may have under-delivered, but WWE wasn't done experimenting with physical entertainment spaces. Because while Las Vegas and New York stumbled, Canada would surprisingly deliver Vince's most successful attraction yet.
The temperature is climbing. The anticipation is at a fever pitch. Get ready for a new season of thrills and excitement at WWE Niagara Falls.
In 2002, WWE tried again. This time in Niagara Falls, Ontario. And unlike the expensive overreach of Las Vegas or the underwhelming blandness of Times Square, WWE Niagara Falls found a better formula. Located in the heavily trafficked Clifton Hill Tourism District, WWE Niagara Falls focused less on being a full restaurant and more on being an immersive retail attraction. Inside, fans could find exclusive merchandise, interactive exhibits, superstar appearances, and arena-style presentations. But most importantly, the crown jewel, the Pile Driver. A 220-foot drop tower ride that shot guests skyward before plunging them back down to the ground, much like a pile driver would. President of WWE Canada, Carl DeMarco, seemed really impressed by the ride, saying, "This ride will shoot you up right to the top, drop you down just as quick. It'll bring you up gradually just for a minute, and the reason they designed the ride like that is this way you get to see Niagara Falls." Then unexpectedly, the ride drops. Boom. It's going to be a cool ride. The attraction was announced as part of the WrestleMania 18 fan access. It was in Canada after all. And it opened a few months later on August 1st, 2002, with massive fanfare drawing a huge crowd on opening day. But then the Pile Driver was shut down by Ontario's Technical Standards and Safety Authority for operating without a permit. WWE managed to clear things up and avoid a fine because the necessary permits were obtained months earlier, but got lost due to a processing error. The Pile Driver remained largely inactive for nearly a year, eventually reopening in the summer of 2003. When the ride did reopen, it was only allowed to operate from May to November due to weather concerns. For many ventures, this would be fatal, but surprisingly, WWE Niagara Falls survived. And for nearly a decade, it became a profitable tourist hotspot. Superstars regularly appeared for signings the first few years, with everyone from Maven to Roddy Piper to Batista and John Cena making the trip. The signings, however, would discontinue in 2009. The retail store had exclusive merchandise that sold well. And unlike WWF New York, WWE didn't shoulder all the financial burden. The venue was operated through licensing agreements, minimizing their corporate risk. As WWE's popularity lessened over the decade, so did the traffic at the store. By the time it closed in 2011, WWE Niagara Falls had outlasted its New York predecessor by 6 years. For a project that was nearly killed by red tape in week 1, that's pretty impressive. After the WWE departed the store, it became your run-of-the-mill tourist gift shop until 2015, when the space became home to the Niagara Falls Brewing Company. When people think of Vince McMahon's failures outside of wrestling, they usually focus on the XFL, the WBF, or Tout. And I've covered some of those, and I'll get to the others, but of course we've also looked at more, like the Cape Cod Buccaneers and Evel Knievel. But these entertainment ventures are further evidence of Vince's relentless obsession with turning wrestling into something bigger than wrestling. A casino, a Times Square landmark, a tourist attraction. Some failed due to overexpansion, some failed due to poor execution, and one actually worked out for a while. He always seemed to want WWE to be like Disney, an all-encompassing brand. Movies, TV, theme parks, all of it. Just constantly leveraging the brand into new areas and making them successful. It just couldn't happen. Let me know your thoughts about these business ventures in the comments. Also, if you visited the Niagara Falls location, did you get one of these cool exclusive title belts? Oh, and don't worry, we'll get into WCW's failed side quest too. Nitro Grill, Bruise Cruise, I'm looking at you soon. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do so by subscribing. The channel recently hit the 25,000 subscriber mark, so feel free to keep that train moving. You can also support by finding me on social media, either here or here. I'm Scott from WrestleSpective. Watch wrestling, love wrestling. Thanks for watching.